Welcome to the channel. I am your host, the BitBoy. Today, I am going to be discussing why I am endorsing RFK for president. I know this takes a lot of people by surprise because they know that I did an interview with Donald Trump Jr. and I've always been, ever since the first day he announced he was going to be running for president back in 2015 over the summer he announced, or maybe it was in 2016. I can't remember what it was. It must have been actually the summer of 2015 was when he announced that he was going to be running. And I had been with him before he officially announced because I wanted an outsider. I wanted someone who was not a lifelong politician to be the president, and we got that. And what we learned is, even if you get everything going in the direction that you would like for things to go, still there are roadblocks thrown up. And that's why I've discussed with you guys so many times why nothing that you see is real. Everything is artificial. At least 75% of what you see is artificial. And so what that means is you can't believe poll numbers. You can't believe anything you see about politics. I do believe that for the most part, the elections are real. I don't think... Was the one election stolen? Potentially, I believe so. However, most of these elections are stolen through public sentiment. They're stolen through the media telling stories that are not true, that favor whichever side the powers that be would like to win. And the public sentiment is even more important than the outcome of the election, because the public sentiment is what determines what politicians are able to get done across the world. If 80% of the world swings conservative to the right, and it doesn't have to be to our right, it just has to be to the right in their country, okay? Like in the UK, their most conservative people are almost liberal, like compared to here in the United States. But the point is, there is a pendulum that swings. It swings between these two powers of Republicans and Democrats and right and left and liberal and conservative. And if your individual country is a holdout against whatever the populist, the globalist ideals are and sentiment is at the time, then you're going to be swimming upstream. And that's what we saw with Donald Trump. When he won, people who were for him thought, oh, we got everything we wanted. And then it still didn't work. Why? Because it's all an illusion. None of it is real. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a magician at one time. And then I learned that for the most part, you have to be a nerd, and I wasn't willing to go there, as you guys know. So my point is, you look and you say, why are you supporting RFK? Well, I'll explain to you why. I had a dream. Not Martin Luther King. I had a dream. No. I literally had a dream. And in that dream that I had, in my state of Georgia, actually, it was my state. I can't tell you this is where it's going to be because I don't think RFK is on the ballot in every state, but he is on the ballot in my state. I had a dream that RFK won enough percentage points in my state because I voted for him and I got people to vote for him, that somehow it actually affected the election and it actually causes Donald Trump to win. And look, what does that mean? If I were to have this dream and tell you like how I could potentially see this playing out, would be something like there is a discrepancy in the votes because RFK takes a good percentage away from one candidate or the other in Georgia. And what occurs is there is something similar to like what we saw in 2000. Right, like a ballot, some kind of ballot discrepancy with the hanging chads and stuff. We obviously don't have hanging chads in the state of Georgia. We have digital, we vote on a screen. But my point is something about an event that was triggered because RFK got some percentage points. They had to look at something more closely, and that actually causes Donald Trump to win. I had this dream. I literally had a dream. And look, I don't have crazy dreams a lot. I did dream about 9/11 the night before it happened. Like when I was younger, I was 18. That's a long story. It wasn't the exact same thing. It was Twin Cities instead of Twin Towers, but I digress. The point is, I had this dream. And right after I had this dream, I was in Virginia and I went to a certain downtown. And I guess I said it on my Twitter post about this, Charlottesville. I go into the RFK headquarters inside of Charlottesville. And I start talking to the man in there, and he's acknowledging that RFK doesn't have a chance mathematically to win. He doesn't have a chance to mathematically probably win a single state. He might be able to win some electoral votes in a state like Maine, maybe, where they have there's different regions that go specifically to places. I think maybe Nebraska is like that as well, but I'm not a political expert yet. But my point is he can't win the election. He's not going to become the president. And look, I don't know if there's some kind of crazy thing that would happen where, because maybe he causes neither one of them to get enough electoral votes or something like that. That could be something that I don't think is going to happen. That's a long shot, but that would obviously disrupt things. But my point is, I go into this headquarters in Charlottesville and I start talking with a gentleman there, and he acknowledges that RFK doesn't have a chance to win. And he basically tells me that, he views it kind of as some kind of contingency plan. Like, it's good to vote for RFK because he stands for a lot of what the rest of us stand for. And in addition, RFK is less controllable than other nominees. And not for president. I mean, Trump isn't really controllable either to some extent. But my point is, within the Democratic Party, which he is a Democrat, of course, he is running independent because he didn't get the nomination. They wouldn't allow it anyways. But he is a pretty genuine person. He actually is someone, he's not your typical politician. That is true, okay? And you can tell because he's going against his party on almost everything that makes sense to go against it on. And so he's going against the ideals of the party, and so he gets attacked. So I'm talking to this man. He explains to me that they had set up this store in August of 2023. And I thought back. There's a lot of stuff that happened in my life in August of 2023. 24 hours before the behind the scenes of the falling apart of BitBoy Crypto and Hidden Network and TJ and me and the whole thing. 24 hours before that began, because that actually began the following night. I believe it would have been like August the 16th, maybe. It was a Wednesday night when everything began. And the night before that, I was at Futurist in Toronto. I had gone to this conference by myself because I was speaking and nobody came with me. I was confused why nobody wanted to come. Now, then I kind of figure out why. My point is I had a lot going on in August 2023. 24 hours before my whole ordeal began, Kyle Kemper, who is the half-brother of Justin Trudeau, at the end of the night, as this boat party was over, I was going to get in my Uber in the parking lot, and I walked up to Kyle, and I just told him, I said, hey, I know who you are. I've heard a lot about you, because I had. And I hear he's a pretty good guy. And I just wanted to tell him, just say hi, basically. And it was the weirdest thing, Kyle, he grabbed me like a hug and pulled me in close to him. And he whispered something in my ear. And he whispered it for a long time. It was like 30 seconds, and he just held this embrace. And he told me, he said something to the effect of, the light that you are putting out in the world is not being appreciated. And there are dark voices trying to stifle it and to hush you. Keep doing what you're doing. Continue fighting because it's worth it. And that was basically the effect of what he said. And it hit me so profoundly. I was like, man, I don't even know this guy. And he comes in and tells me like he cares about me and all of these things. And it was very interesting to me that happened. And I've thought about it a lot because I, of course, didn't know what I would begin going through the following day. And I don't think that he probably had any idea either. Maybe he did. I'm not sure. But what I do know is that it was a very important conversation to me. And so when this man tells me that they began their pop-up shop for RFK in August of 2023, I kind of began listening to him. And I really just thought about how, their journey is the RFK campaign compared to my journey is what I've been through over the last year. And I just reflected on all of it. And when I took all of that stuff into consideration, okay, I kid you not, this is a true story, 100% true. After I left that RFK campaign headquarters, is in Charlottesville, downtown Charlottesville, Virginia, I then went and got in my truck. And Cassie and I began driving. And it was literally on that drive that Joe Rogan announced that he was supporting RFK. I had this dream I had this interesting conversation. I've got a piece of paper that has all these different campaign media for RFK. I haven't got around to watching those yet, but I do have them. And the thing is that there was a piece of paper there. And this piece of paper, it was just a picture of JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., of course. And it was a picture of his face, and it simply said, man, I had it in here for a while. I don't have it in here anymore, though. It simply said, the America that almost was, and yet still may be. And that quote, when I looked at it a little bit later, it really shook me. And I really began to think about the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. And I thought to myself, what if we're on a cycle here? And to break out of the cycle, like Neo finally breaks out of the Matrix after, I guess, his 7th iteration or whatever it was that the programmer tells him. What if history was changed, or the future, was changed when Donald Trump was not killed? It was simply him looking up at a screen that caused him not to be murdered in front of America and the world, okay? Someone did die right behind him, actually. That doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion. But were we able to avert something? Were we able to avert the same old cycle? Are we now onto something different? Are we onto something different because this crisis was averted? President hasn't even been shot at since, I believe, Reagan. I believe he also was not killed. Very interesting. And so my point is, I really want to talk about this, the America that almost was and yet still may be. I want to discuss this, but I've realized now, I've been talking for 12 and a half minutes, and I don't want this video to be 25 minutes long. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a 2-part video series, and then we're going to continue doing videos around this topic that we're going to talk about. And then that topic is the JFK assassination. We're not going to get super deep into conspiracies or anything like that. We're just going to talk about what happened, what people say happened, what some of the documents that were released, and just kind of talk about it a little bit. We're not going to go deep into this rabbit trail. I just think it's a lot of really great content for people to understand and to know about things that happened in our country. Because this is the teaser that I'll leave you with for the next video. The reason that our relationship with America is broken, with our government, our relationship with our government is broken, is because of this original lie. This original lie of the JFK assassination, and what actually happened, and why did it happen, and what was that supposed to stop? Or better yet, maybe another question, what did his death allow? What did it allow? And when you start answering those questions, you will start seeing that it's important. You have to understand the why it happened. When you can understand the why, then you can understand the original cover-up. And then you can see the cover-up on cover-up on cover-up on cover-up on cover-up. And that's the house of cards that all falls down with the one pull of the Jenga stick that is the JFK assassination, what really happened. And we may never know. No, I don't believe that. I believe one day we will know. I believe one day we will know what actually happened. I think we will. So anyways, guys, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much. We're coming back live streaming on Monday full time. I am super excited about it. I've really been missing it, but I've been taking care of some really core things that I needed to take care of and I needed to do. And I appreciate you guys having patience with me, and I appreciate you guys will come back to the live streams and things like that. So I love you guys. Appreciate you. Be blessed. Hit the like button, subscribe. BitBoy out.